All right, as long as that's good. All right, this is Glenn and Nic Ashby. We're at the Camaro, 2010 Camaro on the GM booth here. This is a National Guard project. I'm going to let Nic talk a little bit about the general project first, and then we'll ask about some details. So, Nic, thanks very much first for doing the interview.
Definitely. Hey, you guys were a big help. So basically what we came up with this year is we're doing this new campaign. It's called the Moment Campaign. And it's about what Guard soldiers do and capturing themselves in the moment. So what we're doing is this car was basically built around that principle, about the moment. You have basically, it's all the companies on board with this car have spent more time in the winner's circle than anyone else. From Sabon to Brembo to BBS to KW. They've all done it, and they've been there, and they've experienced it, and they've captured their moment. Well, now it's the end users. It's that person out there on the street. It's their turn to capture the moment. So that's basically what we're doing with this whole campaign and everything that we're launching with this 010 Camaro. It's a great build. It took about a month and a half to build this car, and we have full airbrush seats of 2 National Guard soldiers capturing their moment, both in war and in natural disaster. Whether it's peacekeeping or protection. So basically we came up with the whole Moment Carbon Camaro. That's the name of the car. And we have about 70% in carbon fiber on this car. We have one of the first carbon fiber solid drive lines from Inland Empire Driveline. Brembo did their actually upgradable kit for the SS. KW did a variant Type 2. Hankook obviously threw on some great tires. They have great traction with what they do. BBS actually built this custom set of wheels. All the carbon again is from Sabon. Paxton built us a prototype unit for the blower. We actually, and probably the biggest thing about this car besides the carbon is the interior, what we've done on this car. And we've basically, with what this car is, for production value reasons, to keep this car at an affordable cost for people, GM had to insert a lot of plastic parts in it, and that kind of stuff. What we did is we took what the designers wanted to do, I believe, and we basically took that and we ran with it, and we've taken all of that out of the car, and all it is now is full leather. And every piece that was in this car is now full leather, whether it's perforated, French stitching, floating edges, airbrushed interiors. We basically built the Camaro of what my dad used to refer to the Camaro as. And when he would refer to me to those things, he'd be like, hey, when me and my buddies would go out, on our college days or whatever, we'd be in our GTOs that came out of the factory with wheelie bars, and I'd imagine, a GTO or the 68 Camaro, which is like the icon car, running down the street just creasing the asphalt, and that's what we built with this, was something that would mimic that. And JBA did the perfect thing. They built us 1.5-inch long tube, or 1 5/8 long tube headers that go right into a 3-inch exhaust system, and this thing sounds like that 68 Camaro, right off the dealer floor, and that's what we built, was the true muscle enthusiast car.
What's interesting to me is that, unlike a lot of the vehicles we see on the show, it's until you get up to it and look at it, there's really not a lot of flash. Like, if you were 200 feet away and saw it coming, you'd see a black Camaro.
Exactly.
But when you get up to it, you're like, oh my God, the detail is just incredible. There's so much detail in this car. I don't even know if the camera's going to be able to do it justice. But how many hours do you figure? I know you said a month and a half, but how many hours do you figure that is in this thing, and how many people? What kind of a team did you have building this?
Well, and that's probably the biggest thing about this car is not one person can do anything. I'm bringing a bunch of the guys out here. They've never been to SEMA before, and so we actually got them some passes. They're going to be out here on Wednesday, and they're the unsung heroes. James over there, Head Customs, Art, the owner Jason, all those guys over there did so much on this car. We were up probably 3 days straight, right before SEMA, making sure the final stitching, everything was correct, and James is well known. He's called the Kid in the hot rod world, but he's built the Riddler cars. He's built all those type of cars, and he came into this whole build, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he was like, "You're nuts. We're not wrapping leather in that entire car." And I was like, "Yeah, we are." And probably by like the 80th piece he wrapped, he looked at me, and both our fingers were numb, and we were about bleeding, and we were just like, all right, we're glad we did it, But we're actually, we've been entered in 8 different awards from General Motors for this thing on design. But like you said, it's not really flashy, and what we've came up with is, when you're in the moment, when you're doing that stuff, it's not about the flash, it's not about the glitz and glamour, but it's about the detail in the moment and the action of what's going on. And that's what we did with this car, is we didn't build the glitz and glamour, we built what the end user is going to be able to fully function with and have, and it's not about 22-inch wheels or stuff like that. It's about what's really going to produce and really give those people what's best for their value and their money.
Yeah, you can really see that, like you said, to the old enthusiast 68, 67, walking around this car, you can see somebody really putting time in after the build to just detail it. Like, this is something that people would take such a personal pride in. Watching, like I said, looking just the stitching in the door and what I can see where I'm standing. This is just something that I would spend hours and hours just polishing it for the fun of it. Get the diaper out and really start doing it. Is there, other than what you've talked about now, the inside of the motor, are we talking stock internals right now?
It's basically what we did is with the time we had and everything, and we didn't want to build the engine out because, again, we want the average person who buys an SS Camaro, they're not going to be able to go out and drop, a stroked engine or something like that. So we worked with Paxton, and Paxton actually built a street legal, carb legal supercharger. We're just under 500 horse in this thing on a stock setup. Wow. Now, if you change out your fuel pump and your injectors and that kind of stuff, you'll pull 650 easy with that same unit.
And who needs more than that?
Exactly, right? But the thing is if you want to stroke it, you want to do that, that blower is capable of 1,200 horse if you want it. But the nice thing is it's a supercharger. It's there, it's constant. You don't have to wait for lag, you don't have to wait for any of that stuff. And it's air to air, so it cools down the engine. So the wear and tear is very limited on that unit that Paxton built for it.
So this really is, like you said, not only in the moment, but this is a power to the people kind of a movement car. What it shows you what you could do or what you should do. Exactly. Even.
And where everyone else has built show bling cars, I've more or less built a lifestyle car. And if you were to see this car out on the street, it'd be more of a lifestyle to you than an actual show car or race car or something like that. One of the biggest points is, like James, again, over Airhead Customs, and Jason and those guys, they had the greatest idea when we started working on the seats with this thing and airbrushing and everything. Jason obviously airbrushed awesome murals on this, and we'll see if we can get some footage of them. But James said, I want to make it look like we took that SS seat Camaro that Chevy built for the Camaro and dropped it in a carbon fiber shell. We sent the embroidery back 23 times until it matched the exact SS. We sent the thread, we ordered 5 different types of thread, sent them all back, then ordered 5 more until the shading on the thread was right. And the problem is with the thread is it might be the same type of thread, same brand, everything, but threads colors change from batch to batch.
Yes.
So we actually had to use, special type of the heavier, almost like a yarn, to do the French stitching, and then the embroidery, everything. Then Takata, we actually worked with Takata, and we actually threw a little bit of a camo tint to their belts, but still kept obviously their green. Right. But we actually matched their stitch in with the SS stitch as well. And it's pretty crazy to realize the detail we put into this car and the time and effort. But again, it's amazing how excited the guys were when we were working on this car. It was like the rebirth of the Camaro. And the thing is, the design team that built this car built it in their image, and to me, you're never going to be able to build it better than in their image. That's the creator's image. All we did was brought it up a couple levels of what they probably wanted to do if they would have had the budgets and the allowance to do it in.